righty. Good afternoon, good morning, whatever time we're reaching you at. We are Peter and Emily of CIPR, but more importantly of the Tourism AI Network. And today we're going to introduce the network, talk a little bit about how we got this all going. Peter's going to give you some insight into how he kind of brainstormed this whole idea and give you context for why we think it's important. So Peter, I will let you introduce yourself first.
Perfect. Thanks, Emily. Well, so thank you all for attending or listening to the first ever episode of the Tourism AI podcast, a show made, I guess, for the Tourism AI Network. So, a little bit about me before we get into what the network is and what this podcast is all about. So, I am Peter Pilarski, president of CIPR Communications. I have about a 20-year career. Started in government and many years in and around government relations, marketing, communications, public relations, all those fun things. And about 8 years ago, my wife, Christina, and I started CIPR Communications, which is really a full service digital PR agency with a strong focus on the tourism sector. So, a little bit about obviously, we love tourism. We love doing everything we can with tourism. I guess we're a little bit well known for in the tourism industry, specifically around DMOs, around a program that we created with our friends at Tourism Kamloops called the Value of Tourism program, which we've since rolled out to many different DMOs and regional DMOs and other places. And we also do some marketing, communications, website design, things like that for many friends and colleagues in the tourism sector. So we love tourism. A little bit about, I guess, the AI side of things. So CIPR Communications belongs to an organization called WSI. So WSI is a global digital marketing agency network that really helps businesses figure out this whole digital marketing space. And I am on the WSI AI Leadership Committee. So I always like to tell a little story about WSI, which has been told by actually the WSI's founder, Dan Monahan. He's now the chief visionary officer, super visionary guy. And Dan likes to talk a little bit about the fact that WSI was started 2 years BG, so 2 years before Google. And really what Dan saw was the internet coming and the internet disrupting and changing the way business was done. And he said, I think we need an organization to help businesses kind of manage this whole transition, figure out this whole internet thing, this World Wide Web thing. And so he founded WSI at the time, which literally stands for We Simplify the Internet. So really it makes a lot of sense if you put it into that context. And fast forward 25 years, WSI is just an amazing network that we're part of, gives us tons of resources and education. And they're really on the forefront of many things happening in the digital space and including WSI, including AI. So about 12 to 18 months ago-ish, well, Dan's been talking about AI actually for a number of years, but really the conversation started to heat up a little while ago, about 12 to 18 months ago. They founded the WSI AI Leadership Committee, which I'm an active member of. And that really kind of sparked some interest for me in terms of thinking about how we can sort of marry our love for tourism and this whole new AI thing and some of the work we're doing with WSI. And so anyways, that was sort of a little bit about Tourism AI Network. We'll talk a little more about that in a bit. A couple things more I'll mention about, I guess, myself is I love collaborating with people. I love partnerships. I love building community. And so as part of building this organization, we really started it off with partnerships in mind. So WSI is a major partner of ours. WSI Next Gen Marketing, which is another agency similar to ours, which is in the Napa Valley. Some friends of ours are joining the network sort of as founding members and several others, which we'll be talking about and talking to over the course of the next few episodes. So I'm not going to spoil those. But really, for me, I love building community and I love collaborating with people. So that's where I come from when it comes to this whole thing we're talking about today.
Very nice. Peter's experience in government definitely was supported by his love for community, is what I will say. I'm Emily. I am CIPR's marketing specialist. I've been at CIPR for just over a year now, but it's been a lot of fun and I've learned a lot. I would say my background is in communications, advanced education, and also government. I've got a little bit of experience in there as well. But really where my passion, I think, for this sort of thing comes in is I also love building community. I love local business. So obviously tourism ties in a lot to local community and local business. So that's a great passion of mine. I would say, historically more fearful of AI than potentially Peter is. But I think honestly, even in the conversations that we've had leading up to the launch of the network and just internal conversations about what it can do for your marketing, what it can do for so many different industries has really warmed me up to the idea of, really implementing AI and making it a part of what we do at CIPR and the network, but also just from a wide scale, opportunity. There's lots that AI can support with. I will say that my fun fact is that I studied Spanish for 13 years. And to tie it back to AI, I would say that ChatGPT is an infinitely better translation tool than Google Translate. So for
Mm.
your students at home who are trying to work on their assignments, don't let them do it all on ChatGPT because that is cheating. But if they need help with the translation piece and you want to work on your language skills, I would say that ChatGPT is actually a pretty solid tool for that. So
Well, there you go. No bueno, Google Translate. Think of that one.
see, he's good. He didn't even need ChatGPT for that one. Peter, I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but why don't you tell us more about kind of what sparked the idea for the Tourism AI Network? What really fueled you to dive in headfirst on that and really give it a go?
Sure. Before I do that, I'm going to share a fun fact since you shared one. And I will say that my fun fact that is I am CIPR's Gen Xer, and which makes me the least technical savvy person in the team. So I'm not necessarily a very technically savvy guy, although obviously I'm as technically savvy as I need to be to run a marketing communications agency. But I'm really a strategist. I'm really a kind of more of a vision person. I love to learn. And as I mentioned, I love bringing people together and inspiring them around a common goal. So I wanted to mention that because I think a lot of people that I talk to actually about AI are sort of like, ooh, new technology. It's the last thing in my career that I want to be even thinking about. I remember how hard the internet was. In fact, interestingly, I was helping my dad through something yesterday, trying to go through Zoom yesterday because he lives in Kelowna and he's 75. And so, I mean, that was quite an experience, trying to help a guy that's 75 that doesn't know how to use technology to figure some things out. But I mention all that because actually what's cool about AI is actually I think it's a great enabler, a great equalizer when it comes to technology. Actually, all you need to know how to do is use language, and you can make computers do amazing things with AI. So I think it's a really thing, for my Gen Xers and beyond in terms of vintage. I actually encourage you not to think about this as some scary new technology, but to think about it as something that technology can or something that can make technology more available to you now than ever before. So, anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. So, yeah, in terms of, I guess, what brought this idea together for me is a couple things, as I mentioned, is the work on the WSI AI Leadership Committee and really the love we have for tourism. I mean, it sort of became a really big no-brainer for us because as I'm diving deeper into this AI thing, I'm realizing that it is not going away. In fact, 2024, I'm going to say it right now, since it's the beginning of the year, is going to be the year of AI implementation across many organizations and many industries. Whereas 2023 was maybe the year of, oh, look at this shiny new toy, let's play with it, it's cool. I think now it's going to become real for a lot of industries and a lot of companies. And so obviously as a marketing communications agency, we need to be paying attention to that because it's pretty disruptive for our industry. And as lovers of tourism and working with people in the tourism space, it was like, hey, let's bring all of this together. So, and I'd say that the timing really, really worked out. I mean, we panicked around the pandemic, like many people did, and we kind of went away from tourism a little bit. I don't want to say we went away, but we were very hyper focused on tourism, and then the pandemic hit. We got scared. We started focusing on other industries and started sort of, kind of expanding outside of tourism. Interestingly, though, during that time, we didn't actually really lose much from a revenue perspective or, companies we worked with perspective in the tourism space. We just started doing different work. And so, but anyways, that's all sort of in the past. Moving forward, late 2023, we decided F that. We're going to double down back on tourism. We're all in again. And then, now this disruptive force called AI started to come in. So we said, you know what, let's bring the two things together and triple down, which is now the Tourism AI Network. Here we are.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What would you say? There's a couple different components I think we need to speak about here in terms of, what we're aiming to provide and really offer to folks who are interested in the network, but also the podcast. But why don't you walk us through what the mission and vision of the network are to begin?
Yeah, so I'm gonna just like straight up read to you the vision and the mission because I wrote them a while ago and I think they're pretty good. But anyways, the vision is to be the leading authority on AI for the tourism industry and to build a global community of AI first tourism professionals. And so I think that second part for me is really what's more important than the first. So interestingly, companies like Microsoft are talking very openly right now about turning all industries into AI first industries. On to be an AI first industry, I think you need to have AI first professionals working in those industries first, because obviously the people are going to usher in the technology. So really, this is a community, a community we're building around people who want to be AI first and sort of understand how AI can advance not only their careers but their industries, and their passions. So that's our vision. And our mission is to drive the adoption and understanding of AI in the tourism industry by providing education, fostering collaboration, and building a community of thought leaders and practitioners. I'm not very good at reading, which is like this in this type of format, which is maybe why a version of AI Peter might be on this podcast every once in a while. I did some fun things as you saw over the Christmas around that, which is all interesting, anyways. But I think it's important for people to understand that you know yes, I'm sort of the person bringing this forward and sort of leading this charge, but really this network is actually going to be about the people who decide to join it and engage with it and sort of turn it into the network that I'm hoping it'll become. So I'm encouraging everybody just to sort of bring an open mind and some enthusiasm and willingness to learn to the network to help make it as awesome as it can be.
I really like that your focus is on really building that community, and I think it's kind of funny because it'll probably turn into almost like a group learning environment, I would say, which if you wanted to argue is kind of what AI is as well, in terms of taking all the knowledge that it's given and then turning it into this big wealth of knowledge. So ironically, we may be our own artificial human intelligence.
Perhaps,
All that
perhaps,
to
yeah.
say.
Well, and on that note, I'll just say, Emily, that I obviously, as you know me, I spend a lot of time on educating myself on things and listening to podcasts and reading books and doing all the things. And so, I mean, obviously, I'm a person who's going to be bringing a lot of ideas and hopefully just sparking conversation, sparking interest. But, through this journey, I've been also meeting a lot of really capable, incredible people doing amazing things with AI. So, future episodes I'm going to be interviewing some of those people, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But to your point, it's really going to be a learning network and a sort of a personal growth network, and hopefully a network where you can connect with people that can help you move forward in this whole AI thing.
Yeah, I think that's a nice segue. Is that kind of the value that you see being added from this podcast as well? I think there's definitely opportunity for that, but is that kind of the vision you have for the podcast?
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah. So I mean, definitely my goal and vision for the podcast is as we build a network, as we build people doing things in AI, sort of a collaborative group of people doing stuff, we can all learn from each other. So sometimes it'll be you and I, Emily, talking about the latest and greatest and what's going on. Sometimes I might be interviewing somebody from a tech company, like an AI service provider, or maybe somebody from a DMO, or maybe somebody from a tourism operator, whatever. So I think that is really my goal. It's really just to have conversations, to spark interest, to sort of start getting people's wheels turning in terms of what this could mean for them and for their businesses. It's interesting, like I think about AI, and I'll just share a little story here is that for me, I've been really, really heavily using it for the last 12 months or so on many different things. And it's amazing to me how less tired I feel mentally at the end of a workday and how much more I get done. So, I heard somebody say this once, and I'm sorry that I'm stealing somebody's quote, but I don't know who it was because I listen to so many things all over the place. But they said that AI, like large language models or, tools like ChatGPT or Pi or others are, could be considered somewhat of a intelligence or thinking augmentation tool, similar to how eyeglasses might be a vision augmentation tool, or a synthetic prosthetic leg or whatever. It could be a mobility augmentation tool. And I really feel that really resonated with me. So I hope that if anybody gets one takeaway from this podcast today is, hey, this can help me sort of think through some things and can lighten the load mentally for me and sort of allow me to end my day not so mentally exhausted, maybe because I've had the assistance of a thinking augmentation tool to help me through my day. But anyways, that's just sort of one place where I think it could help.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and it kind of leads into the next question that I have for you, which you've already touched on it a little bit on a very individual, personal level that I think can assist all of us. But how can AI really revolutionize the tourism industry specifically?
Yeah, there's so many ways. It's actually kind of mind-boggling, but I'll just name a few. I think many podcast episodes are going to get into the details of this, but no, obviously, I think the low-hanging fruit from my perspective is just improve customer communication, improve customer service, improving customer satisfaction. One of the things I hear about a lot when I listen to people talk about AI is the impact it's going to have on jobs, and there's no question in my mind it's going to have an impact on jobs. But we're in the tourism industry. We're in a sector that's literally starving for people. We don't have enough people to do the work we need to do, and so any amount of help that AI can give to answering people's questions, sort of taking people, sort of getting potential clients and potential tourists answers questions answered. That just frees up the potential for people to be more on the front line, more customer facing, more face to face, right? So I think that to me, from a tourism perspective, is probably the most important starting point. Is that sort of customer communication, customer service? You think about chatbots on your website, or you think about automated. You check into a hotel and you got sort of an automated text messaging service that can have a conversation with your guests. Again, if you can really get that working for your tourism or operation, that could really free up some resources elsewhere. So I think that's a net benefit. Obviously, things like personalized marketing, personalization in marketing, dynamic pricing, I think is one that's talked about a lot. So sort of understanding demand and when prices could be higher, and dynamically changing pricing on your website or wherever, I think is a huge opportunity. Obviously, operational efficiency. You know, again, more efficient marketing, those types of things are all great. I've been having some conversations with a couple different organizations, one a tourism operator and one a DMO. And interestingly, in those, I'll talk about the DMO first, but one of the things they told me is that they spend so much time writing reports to their municipality and to their provincial authority about how they're spending the money that they receive. Wouldn't it be nice if AI could help us to make the process of writing those reports more efficient? And I said, I think we can do that. So that's just like one area. And in that conversation with that DMO, it was like, wow, if we could do this, one, it would lead to much more job satisfaction from the people that work in the DMO, because fundamentally people get jobs in DMO because they love people and they love tourism, not because they love sitting at their desk writing reports. So if we can get the machine to do that grunt work, if you will, to allow those people to spend more time doing the things they love, I think that's a huge, low hanging fruit win. And then on the operator side, the tourism operator I spoke to kind of talked about the way that they essentially maintain their entire schedule. This is Eagle Nook Resort, an all-inclusive fishing resort. Basically they have a CRM, and then they have a giant spreadsheet that's basically their schedule for the season. And it's very complex and hard to manage, and there's a lot of moving parts. And they said, man, if AI could help us make this more efficient and effective, that would be really cool. And I said, I think we could do that. So yeah, I think there's like many different areas that are sort of low hanging fruit to start, that'll just make operations more efficient, to again free up resources so that people can do a better job or have more time to serve their customers and be more front facing with people. So that's a starting point.
Very nice. It sounds like you're already putting pieces of puzzles together. So
Starting to, for sure. Yeah,
only go up from here. That's
that's
amazing.
it.
Um, I think we've kind of already spoken about some of the kinds of guests that we can expect on the podcast. I know you want to have folks from DMOs, probably from different tourism organizations, some other folks as well. But I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about some of the topics that you're expecting we'll cover on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the topics are going to be a little all over the place, but really the focus of the topics is going to be pretty focused. So really the focus is about practical uses of AI, or how AI can practically help the tourism industry sort of become more efficient and effective. So that's, I feel like, a narrow focus, but obviously so for example, this DMO I'm working with, in order to, get these reports done more efficiently, that would be a great podcast interview, which would be more of a kind of a case study type of thing. What did we do? How did we do it? How did it work? What did you learn along the way? Those types of things, right? Whereas, another topic could be, Is a guy I know, Carl, who we're going to be introducing shortly as well, who's doing some amazing things in terms of he's a practitioner, an AI practitioner that's sort of implementing AI solutions for businesses. And what has he learned along the way, and what were the pitfalls and those types of things, right? So really the goal will be to help people to understand how they could use AI for their tourism business and their tourism operation, but told through firsthand experience and firsthand stories of people actually trying to implement this stuff so that it's sort of as real as possible for people.
Right on. So it sounds like we'll be getting some of those really exclusive industry insights, expert insights, industry trends, that kind of thing. I know we are hoping to make it a little bit engaging and fun as well, some of our
Yeah.
segments. So I think we can jump right into one of our fun segments if you'd like, Peter, that we will probably bring back every now and then. We're going to
Mhm.
call it AI and tourism, fact or fiction. So, Peter, I'm going to give you this question. AI can now create personalized travel itineraries based on your social media activity. Fact or fiction?
Well, Emily, that is a fact. So yeah, no, actually AI algorithms can actually analyze your social media likes, posts, and interactions and suggest personalized travel destinations and activities for you today. That is something that actually it can do today. So definitely a fact.
That is very cool. I feel like I mean, Google can do something akin to that for you, obviously, if you're really knowing how to search for that sort of thing. But I think these tools are probably going to take it one step further and just having known you better through your social media activity can go even further. So
Well,
that's
we should add to this fact or fiction section for further episodes. It's fact or fiction, followed up by cool or creepy.
so true. Alrighty, next one. There's an AI system that can predict flight delays months in advance. Fact or fiction?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is fiction. So they definitely can predict flight delays in some ways, but there's no way they can do it. They can maybe do it a few days in advance, a few hours in advance, obviously, but not months in advance. That's crazy talk, and I don't think we'll ever get there. But certainly in terms of predicting flight delays, maybe hours or days in advance. Certainly, one of the things I think that AI is going to be getting really good at really quickly is understanding weather and weather patterns and sort of
Mm.
getting better at sort of understanding what the weather is going to be and potential, earthquakes or not sort of earthquakes, disasters and sort of intense weather, that type of thing. But it's also actually going to be interestingly good for predictive maintenance. So, understanding how to, when things need maintenance. And this is not just for airlines and airplanes, but also if I think about your tourism operation, I think that going forward here, we're going to have more of these tools that can sort of really predict when something might fail from a maintenance perspective and hopefully get you ahead of that so that you don't have those delays because a mechanical problem happened or whatever. But I think that's a little bit ways away. But yes, that is fiction.
No doubt. Nice for those operational efficiencies as well to kind of have that be ahead of the curve on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. AI robots are being used as tour guides in historical sites around the world. Fact or fiction?
That, Emily, is a fact. And actually, there's several countries around the world where they've been playing and testing around this kind of technology, and they're using AI-powered robots to provide information and and guide tourists in historical cultural sites. And little fun fact about this one actually is I actually did this myself. I used my ChatGPT 4 Turbo, which is sort of the latest paid version of ChatGPT 4, and I went to Bowness Park, which is the park by my house, which is kind of a destination in Calgary, and I took a picture of the sign and I said, I didn't say, hey, this is Bowness Park telling me about it. I took a picture of the sign with my phone and then asked ChatGPT to tell me about where this place where I'm at. And it said, hey, you're at Bowness Park. And it gave me this whole history and it gave me all this information. And so I really see that as an important, again, back to if you think about how this is going to impact tourism, think about your tourists going around your wherever your destination is, wherever you are, and taking pictures and then talking, engaging with their chatbot and asking questions. And again, it takes the human out of the loop, but also allows sort of, maybe you don't have three humans there, you maybe have one answering those questions, going deeper, those types of things, right? Or more, maybe not. Maybe they're more self-guided tours and, whatever. So how it's going to develop, I'm not 100% sure, but that is in fact a fact. And I think something that everybody should try. Pull out well, first of all, get ChatGPT on your phone and then take a picture and then see what it tells you about different parts of your destination or your tourism offering, and see what it knows.
Yeah, I mean, just, to dissuade any concern that could be coming from that sort of thing, those self-guided tours are already huge in Europe. If you go to any of those historical buildings, one that comes to mind is La Sagrada Familia in Spain. They'll take you on a self-guided tour where they give you the little recorded thing and it tells you all about the history. It's really neat, don't get me wrong. But I think with AI, then if let's say you're more of a visual learner and you'd rather read it rather than listen to it, you're
Yeah.
scanning all the different pieces in the destination and you kind of get that new information. So it's already huge over in Europe. They do that kind of thing all the time. So again, this is just potentially a way for us to catch up in North America.
Yeah. I'll make a couple comments about what you just said there. Number one, did everybody hear and see what Emily just did there? She just showed off her Spanish speaking abilities by so perfectly saying that name. So that was good. Well done, Emily.
Thank you.
Number two is actually what's really cool about this particular fact is that it really enables, basically anybody from any part of the world in any language to be able to get the information they want about the thing
Yeah.
that they're looking at, right? So it's a major game changer for the tourism industry if you think about it. Whereas before you had to think about translation and all this stuff. Now it's like this tool can just do this for you, right? So all of a sudden, tourism becomes so much more accessible for so many more people in any language possible. I mean, and even think about I'm a tourist in a foreign country that I don't speak the language and I need to try to communicate with somebody. I can literally tell my chatbot to what I want and ask it to translate it into the language of the person I'm speaking to, and I can have a full engaging conversation with them. So, pretty cool from that perspective, I think.
Yeah, and I think too you're taking out some of that, to your point, Peter, grunt work, because over there when they're using those recorded facts and things like that, it does take work to record all of those and get all the information out, right? And I mean, it's great once you've got it laid out and you're listening to it, but recording them is such a long haul. So I mean, the ability to do that for operators would be great, because then you don't have to worry about that piece and you can have somebody
Yeah,
do something more valuable, like answering questions that people might have, or just doing other things that will provide more of that human element, more of that engagement, that kind of thing. So
totally. And I want to make another point on what you're saying because I think it's an important point is that, it's really interesting in that this AI technology is a great equalizer when it comes to, now all of a sudden a small business or a medium-sized business that doesn't have as many resources as some huge enterprise can do some things that they weren't able to do before, right? So it really is an equalizer and an enabler for businesses of any size that want to embrace this technology. So I think that's pretty cool as well. So certainly, in fact, I listened to a podcast the other day about how it maybe will allow some small and medium-sized businesses to leap ahead of their enterprise counterparts because they're a little more nimble, a little more agile, and able to do things a little more quickly. So, again, I think that's just a cool opportunity that people should be considering.
I couldn't agree more. Alrighty, we'll hop into the next one. An AI system can accurately predict a traveler's satisfaction with their hotel stay before they even check in. Fact or fiction?
That is, in fact, Emily, a fact. So, yes, it can definitely analyze previous reviews, social media sentiment, customer preferences, and to predict future satisfaction levels. So, for sure. So, again, we can learn a lot about a tourist, a traveler, and their preferences and the things they like, and sort of, make predictions about the future and how they're gonna sort of, I guess, like something when they start to experience it. So, yes, it's a fact.
I think that's a really cool one that actually, ironically, can help bring in the human element to AI in a way. Because I mean, you may look at a camping resort and give that a 1 star because you hate that and would never do that in a million years. But I might look at that, and I'm not saying that I would, but I might look at that and go, oh, that's 10 stars out of 5 because I want that. But a luxury resort might not be for me. So I mean, you are kind of still analyzing those human choices that people are making without having to sit them down and have a really long drawn out conversation, which again has value, I'm sure, but it's also time consuming, and tourism organizations and DMOs may just not have that time to really sit down with each client.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. There is an AI that can speak and understand every language in the world, making it the perfect travel companion. Fact or fiction?
Well, this kind of goes in contrast to what we're saying, but it's in fact fiction. Now, obviously there's a bit of color to this one. So there are AI tools that can translate into many languages, but we're not quite there yet in terms of every single language around the world, one tool, that type of thing. But I would say so. This one for now is a fiction. They're very capable of many languages, but we're not quite there yet. But I would say in 12 months from now, if we had this conversation, this fiction might just be a fact. It's coming quickly.
I agree. Okay, thank you for coming with us on that journey of AI, fact or fiction. You'll probably hear that one again on the podcast. That was fun. But on that note, I'm sure you've noticed, Peter, you listen to a podcast, or a lot of podcasts, so do I. There's a lot of podcasts in the market. So why should people listen to our podcast? What really sets
Uh, thank you for the wonderful question. Well, first of all, this is going to be the only podcast that's specifically focused on tourism and AI together, right? So it's super niche for a super niche audience, and so really, I think that's kind of the main answer. But really, it's anybody who wants to stay ahead of the curve, who wants to sort of stay ahead, get inspiration, get ideas, listen to their peers, understand what others in their industry are doing, and get really practical advice, tips, applications for how they might be able to use AI in their own jobs, in their own industry. That's really the sweet spot of the Tourism AI Network podcast. So yeah, I mean it's really and really the community, right? So, the other opportunity I think is going to be as we're talking about talking to different guests and talking to different people in the space using AI, it'll give people a sense of kind of who their community is. Hey, if I want to be an AI focused tourism professional, who are my people? Well, those are the people you're going to be listening to on this podcast.
Love it. Very nice. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about next episode? I'm not sure if it'll be me as the guest or somebody else. Give me the 411, Peter.
Yeah. So next episode, I think that we're going to be kind of talking a little bit more about the Tourism AI network. So obviously we introduced the podcast. I want to go a little bit deeper about the network, just to sort of give a bit of a more color and flavor for people to understand what they can expect from the network, how they can expect to engage with the network, what it costs, i.e., nothing, those types of things. So, really, the next one is going to be a bit more of a still another introductory type podcast, just to sort of get that foundation started. And then after that, we're going to really get into really the next few episodes. What I want to do is I want to start interviewing some of our partners, our founding partners. So, we have several, and I'm going to be announcing them over the next couple of weeks. And then as we announce them, I want to bring them in for different episodes just to sort of have a more formal introduction, a more formal announcement, kind of give people a flavor of who these people are and really start to build that community, build that network. And I think kind of going forward from there, we're going to have a bit of a mix of me and those guests, me and you, and the other, I think, people that we didn't talk about in terms of potential podcast guests are, like the AI technology providers and the sort of the SaaS companies, the people that are sort of bringing this technology from a technology perspective to the tourism industry. I'd love to be able to talk to some of those people in terms of how they envision their tools also being used in the tourism space.
Absolutely. I think that'll be really valuable as well, just for folks to be able to actually directly implement some of those tidbits, fun facts, that sort of thing with these tools. So I think that'll be really great. Obviously, this is meant to be a community. So if you've got suggestions and you have questions about AI, topics you want to hear about, we're very open to those. I know Peter is just itching to talk about all these different things. So I know he's receptive. If you've got anything you want to hear about, we'll have lots of polls and Q&A sessions in future episodes. So throw them our way. Obviously, we hope you'll subscribe and share this with your network, especially if you are a tourism organization or a DMO. But if you're not, we still want you as part of our network as well. And you can listen to us really anywhere that podcasts are listened to. So if you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're even on the old YouTube, but you would know that if you're watching this right now. So yeah, thanks for that sneak peek, Peter. I'm wondering, for our closing segment, where in the world, if you've got a fun fact on lock for us for travel and AI?
A fun fact on travel and AI. Well, I'm gonna actually. So I was visiting a client of ours this Christmas break, and we were talking about how difficult it is to hire a chef. And this this tourism experience, tourism accommodator happens to be located in a fairly remote area, so not easy to get people, period. Never mind sort of, very specialized chefs and culinary people. And so fun fact, I actually saw today on my LinkedIn these new robotic arms that are being developed that are like these like super chefs using AI technology and robotics technology together. So potentially the future of these really challenging roles to fill might be helped by tourism at some point. So maybe in 2024, probably more like 2025, 26, you may have a beautiful 5-star luxury experience, dining experience made by a machine. Who knows? We'll see.
Wouldn't that be wild? I'd probably be interested in watching that. That's almost like a dinner and a show.
It
If you
was really cool, actually. This thing was just like it's like these two hands on this machine with a computer that can see, and it was like cutting. It was really amazing. Yeah. So, anyways, like again, that's to me a point of like we don't want to displace jobs. Obviously, these machines are going to be expensive, but if you're in a tourism destination and it's super remote and super hard to find people, this may be a solution to a problem that you have, right? So, again, to be determined, we'll see, but I think it's a really interesting time that we live in. So, we will see how it all ends up.
No doubt. That's very cool. All right. Well, I think we are probably both very excited to have this kicked off and keep going, keep having these great conversations, and hopefully we'll see you in the network. There are opportunities as well when you sign up to join social media groups, particularly on LinkedIn, if you want to get in there. So we highly encourage that if you are not only listening, but hopefully joining the network, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks for listening, and thank you, Emily, for being such a great co-host.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Tourism AI podcast. To learn more about the network or get involved, visit our website at tourismainetwork.com or find us on socials at Tourism AI Network. We'll see you there.